Wednesday of last week was an utterly delightful day for me. One of our parishioners contributes to the Cardinal Circle, which is a fund that helps support Catholic schools throughout the Archdiocese. And they were giving a reception to honor the donors, and she invited me to go with her. Normally I'd go, but it was at St. Christopher School, which is where I went. In fact, I started in first grade at St. Christopher in 1957. And I remember my first day there very clearly. I can't remember where I put my phone, but I can remember my first day in first grade. So I was kind of excited. Will I recognize anything? Will anything look the same? Well, I arrived, and they have all kinds of security fencing up now. That's the way of the world. We've got to be realistic. But the gate was open, so I walked into the school. The students were there. The uniforms looked nicer than they did back when I was wearing them. And I walked in. You know, the thing that impressed me most about the whole visit, the floor. The floor. I walked in, well, we used to call it the new building. It's now called the old building. It was built in the 50s. The floor. I didn't remember it being terrazzo, but it's terrazzo. The walls are lined with ceramic tile about 6 feet high. There's not a single crack in that floor. The whole length of the building, just a big shoebox-shaped building. The whole length, not a single crack. It doesn't go up and down. It doesn't lean sideways. It's a perfectly flat floor. It's been used almost every day by who knows how many students for 70 years. It's solid. And I'm just like, damn. Now, please don't think I'm casting aspersions on any local floors. But I thought, you have to have a good foundation for this. Foundations aren't sexy, are they? No, if you're building your house, maybe you want a great big fancy crystal chandelier in the dining room, so let's find the money to put the crystal chandelier in the dining room. Well, you want to put money in the foundation? Nobody sees that. But if you put your money into building a really good, solid foundation, and then you pay a little extra for a really good floor. Terrazzo isn't cheap, is it? You have a floor that for 70 years is perfectly good. You have a good foundation. You build on that, and it lasts. And I'm still just in awe of that floor. And then I reread today's readings. What does Isaiah tell his people? And, he's our prophet too. So we need to listen to Isaiah. He says, share your bread with the hungry. Shelter the oppressed and the homeless. Clothe the naked when you see them. Remove from your midst oppression, false accusation, and malicious speech. He's not saying, just do this at Christmas and Easter time or do it on special occasions. He's saying, this is what God wants you to do every day. This is the basics. This is your foundation. It's not something extra. This is what God asks of us. Then we go to St. Paul writing to the Corinthians. And Paul, he starts off by saying, I came to you in weakness and fear and much trembling. Well, Paul is not a weak-kneed little crybaby, is he? Paul is saying, I'm bringing you God's message, and I don't know if you're going to like it or not. Much fear and trembling, how you're going to receive this. I am proclaiming to you the mystery of God, not with sublimity of words or wisdom. For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and Him crucified. St. Paul is writing the Corinthians and saying, I didn't come to tell you about the glorious Jesus Christ reigning in heaven with all the angels and saints and all the clashing cymbals and all the glory of God in heaven. I came to you to preach Jesus Christ crucified and risen from the dead. Because y'all are experiencing crucifixion maybe every day. We experience rejection, we experience misunderstanding, we experience rejection and hatred and ignorance. We have to deal with these things. That's the real world, isn't it? And Jesus Christ crucified is showing us how to live in the real world every day. Didn't he say, deny your very self, take up your cross daily, and follow me? That's what St. Paul is telling the Corinthians. And then in the Gospel of Matthew, we're told Jesus told his disciples. Well, we're his disciples, right? We're following Jesus, so that makes us disciples. So Jesus is not just telling those people of 2,000 years ago, he's telling all of us right here under this roof. You are the light of the world. Your light must shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your heavenly Father. That's what Jesus is telling you and me. We are his light, each one of us. And we must shine before others. This is our basic. This is our foundation. This is our everyday life that we're called to. Not extra. It's a high standard, isn't it? And a lot of people don't like it. Well, they won't say that. They'll say, well, this is church, and this is politics, and this is business, and this is... Where in creation is Jesus not present? He's everywhere. So we're stuck. This is what we have to live with. Now, last night, at the 5:30 Mass, at this point, I said I now introduce Angie Palmetto. She is the director of young adult and campus ministries for the Archdiocese, and she will talk about how DSF works. Well, she was only here last night. At 8 o'clock Mass, Father Tom Rafferty, vicar for clergy, was here. He was saying, thank you for not having 6 candlesticks on your altar. He said a few years ago he was visiting one church, and they had 6 candlesticks arranged around the altar. He said he felt like he was in jail almost. And I said, well, we kind of like it this way. We're not afraid of looking at each other. We're used to each other around here. So what I'm going to do is, I was listening to Angie Palmetto's talk last night. She made some points that I hadn't thought of. You know, every year we're asked to donate to the Diocesan Services Fund. The cards are in your pews right now. Maybe you received a card in the mail. It's not something I enjoy doing. It's something I do out of duty. It's, you know, if I'm a Christian, I have to give, whether I like it or not. So every year I give. Plus, I don't want to make the Cardinal too angry with me and send me to Pasadena or something. So I like where I am. She was talking about the Office of Young Adult and Campus Ministry. She says they deal with people between the ages of 18 and 39. And she said, think back to your 20s, when you were in the 20s, all the things that you had to deal with. You had to choose a career. Maybe you chose a career several different times. You had to find a community of friends outside of your parents' home. For many people, you find your spouse, or you find somebody you think might be your spouse. You're meeting other people. You're making serious decisions. You're thinking, well, should I be a priest or a religious? Something to think about. Do I continue to go to St. Luke Church like I've gone all my life, or do I like another parish better? Maybe somebody likes 6 candlesticks along the altar. They like it, so they'll go to that church. Or do I maybe go to a non-Catholic church? Or do I just say, who needs church? You know, I just love God all on my own. I'm spiritual, not religious. You know, those are things that young people are faced with. And the fact that we have a ministry to young adults for the whole Archdiocese, and the campus ministry is there to remind them of what the church has to offer and who the church is. There are, they serve 5 different universities: Rice, University of Houston, Texas Southern, Sam Houston State in Huntsville, and the Galveston Newman Center, which serves 4 colleges on or near Galveston Island. The office provides salaries for 2 priests and 6 lay campus ministers. They're trying to reach out to the young people, especially those who want a little bit of maybe religious connection. And then that way they can stay close to the church without feeling like they're doing what they have to do. They're here because they're seeking. They want to hear and see something good. So it affects a lot of people. She said, those of you who have children or grandchildren, ask them if they're at one of the 5 colleges where we have a Newman Center to look into it, to ask about it, the masses they offer, the social events. Not having children myself, or not having to pay for college tuition and all that good stuff, these are things I didn't think of. Y'all probably have, or you're getting to the point where you will be thinking of it, or maybe it's so long ago that you forgot it all. But it's important, isn't it, to reach out to everyone. And I'm not going to try to describe everything else DSF does. That made something click in me. I'm so busy in my life doing the things I need to do. There are a lot of people I'm not looking at. There are a lot of things I'm not thinking about. And I'll bet the exact same thing is true for most of y'all. You are so busy just taking care of everyday life, it's easy to forget everyone else in the world. But we are the light of the world. Jesus said so. Now, if you want to tell him he's wrong, that he doesn't know what he's talking about, go for it. Yeah. He won't strike you. He'll just sort of smile like, yeah. But you'll feel him smiling at you. You'll think, okay. We have cards in the pews. If those of you at the end of the pews, there's baskets with cards. If you look at the people in the pew, if anyone needs one, please pass the cards down so you can fill it out. You may have received a card personally sent to you by the cardinal asking you for your donation. I received mine. You can go online and do it. I did it yesterday. I think it took me 30 minutes. A second grader could probably have done it in 45 seconds, but I'm slower than the average second grader, okay? And it helps. So please fill it out. The ushers will come and pick up the cards first, I think, and then we'll have our regular collection, so we don't want anyone to feel cheated that they couldn't give us money. So while you're filling it out, just one more thing I'd like to add. Last night, Deacon John Rapacki was the deacon of the Mass, and Deacon John is also the business manager of St. Hyacinth Church in Deer Park. That's the church that was hit by the hurricane. Tornado, I'm sorry, the tornado. We're so used to hurricanes here. The church suffered minor damage, nothing very significant to the church. The education building where they had their offices was pretty much flattened. They think it's a total loss. The parish hall, they're still investigating to see whether that's a total loss or not. And a tree crashed through the roof of the rectory, so they can't live in the rectory. It flooded with the rain and all of that. So please keep the people of St. Hyacinth in your prayers. Please keep Deacon John in your prayers as business manager. He and Father Reginald have to get everything fixed. And that's a pretty daunting job. So let's be grateful for the solidity that we have, the health that we have. Let's reach out to those who do need help. DSF will help many people, and our prayers will certainly help all those who need God's mercy. So please, if you need to think about it and pray about what to give, that sort of thing, please do so. This is serious. This is one of our basics. I would like to think that I am at least as good as the floor in the school building at St. Christopher. And if I am that good, I've served my purpose. Right? A good floor. We don't think about it until we trip on it. But if you never trip on it, maybe you never think about the floor at all. But it supports you for all those years. And Jesus is the best example of support that never fails, that ever existed. So let's listen to him and his prophets.